calling them toxic as if her fans, because KTV is a Caitlin Clark fan. She's my favorite basketball player to watch, male or female.
Stephanie White just sent shockwaves through the WNBA in a statement that would make any fan's blood boil. She called supporters of Caitlin Clark toxic. This wasn't a slip of the tongue or a careless comment. It was deliberate, pointed, and incendiary. Fans instantly recognized the blow as an attack on the very people who have driven the league to unprecedented heights. Social media erupted in outrage. Comments, posts, and tweets poured in from every corner of the basketball world, all expressing disbelief, anger, and frustration. But what makes this situation even more alarming is that it exposes a pattern of behavior that has been simmering beneath the surface for months, possibly even years. Stephanie White, a coach who should be guiding and protecting her players while respecting her audience, instead chose to alienate the people who keep the league alive. Fans who cheer, invest, and promote their favorite athletes are being labeled as the problem. The timing of this couldn't be worse. Caitlin Clark has become a transformative figure in women's professional basketball, attracting record viewership, boosting ticket sales, and elevating the league's profile. To see the coach of a major team openly disrespect her fans is a betrayal that cuts to the core of what sports are supposed to be: community, loyalty, and shared passion. And now, viewers, we're going to unpack exactly how this happened, why it matters, and what fans, players, and the league need to confront immediately. Every detail you need to understand this controversy, every scandal that's been conveniently ignored, is coming right now. Make sure you pay attention, because what you see here isn't just gossip, it's the unraveling of a pivotal moment in the WNBA.
Ignore the facts of what the other players in this league have done. From disrespecting fans, starting fake racial investigations, going on platform, I'm gonna give you the facts.
Stephanie White, head coach of the Indiana Fever, has long been a controversial figure. While the WNBA's attention skyrocketed thanks to Caitlin Clark, White's statements and actions repeatedly downplayed Clark's impact. Instead of embracing the player who single-handedly boosted attendance and viewership, White emphasized Kelsey Mitchell as the team's central figure. Many insiders suggest this wasn't an honest opinion, but a deliberate attempt to maintain a narrative that minimized Clark's influence. Clark's arrival changed the league's landscape suddenly. Arenas were packed, TV ratings soared, and fan engagement reached levels previously unimaginable. Yet, White, rather than celebrating these accomplishments, consistently undermined them. Behind closed doors, sources report she expressed skepticism over Clark's significance, resisting calls to acknowledge her true value. And then, when forced to concede publicly, it felt reluctant, perfunctory, an insincere, a clear example of damage control rather than genuine recognition. This ongoing tension reached a boiling point when White appeared on Subvert's podcast and made the infamous toxic fans comment. Fans weren't simply shocked by the words themselves. They were outraged because they symbolized a larger issue, a pattern of favoritism, selective outrage, and systemic neglect of the very people who make the league successful. By questioning the loyalty and integrity of Clark's supporters, White triggered an intense backlash. The reaction wasn't just emotional, it was rational, grounded in years of observing both player favoritism and fan engagement metrics. Fans saw the hypocrisy, and the narrative that White tried to craft began to unravel instantly. What emerges here is a stark portrait of a leader who failed to grasp that success in professional sports doesn't come from one person alone. It comes from the intersection of talented athletes, supportive organizations, and passionate fans. Alienating any of these groups risks destabilizing not just a team, but an entire league. The moment Stephanie White labeled Caitlin Clark's supporters as toxic, an inferno erupted across social media. Fans were not having it far from it. They flooded Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit with messages defending Clark, condemning White, and demanding accountability. This wasn't just casual outrage. For years, fans had watched the WNBA grow, had invested their time, energy, and money into supporting Clark, and suddenly their loyalty was being questioned and maligned. They weren't simply cheering for a player, they were part of a movement that transformed a league. And now, their dedication was being twisted into a narrative of toxicity. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Hashtags calling out White trended nationally. Every post dissected the double standard. Players routinely disrespected fans. Yet White ignored these behaviors while attacking those who showed love for Clark. Social media threads went viral, highlighting specific instances. Ryan Howard criticizing fans, cheering for AJ Wilson. Kalia Copper condemning booing during opposing games. And even high-profile allegations of fake racial investigations. Fans connected the dots. They realized the toxicity wasn't coming from MIT, was from selective criticism and hypocritical behavior from those in power. The conversation quickly turned from mere anger to calls for real action. Some demanded White's removal from her coaching position. Others called for the league itself to step in, warning that if accountability wasn't enforced, Fan engagement and the unprecedented growth brought by Clark would be at risk. The WNBA had reached a tipping point. The fan base that fueled skyrocketing viewership and revenue wasn't just a passive audience. They were vocal, organized, and no longer willing to accept dismissive leadership. Every tweet, post, and comment reflected a shared frustration. They had transformed the league. Yet those at the top treated them as the problem. And here's the stark reality without these fans. The massive financial and cultural boom of the WNBA wouldn't exist. Every ticket sold, every sponsorship gained, and every record-breaking broadcast rating had Clark's supporters at the center. Alienating them was not just an insult, it was a strategic blunder, and the ripple effects were already being felt in real time. The outrage wasn't just about one comment. It was the culmination of a pattern long ignored by the WNBA hierarchy. For years, fans had witnessed players openly disrespecting audiences, disregarding their loyalty, and even fueling unnecessary controversy. Yet, those behaviors rarely faced public scrutiny. While fan criticism, especially from Clark supporters, was immediately branded toxic. Consider Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers, whose teams consistently struggled with attendance, yet somehow were woven into narratives celebrating league growth. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, had single-handedly driven unprecedented viewership spikes, ticket sales, and fan engagement. Her influence was tangible, measurable, undeniable, but White's remarks deliberately minimized her impact. Then there were the controversies that White conveniently ignored, Racuna Williams publicly declaring, "We don't want you," to new fans on national television. Ryan Howard belittling supporters cheering for AJ Wilson at a home game, and Kalia Copper chastising audiences for booing an opposing player. These weren't minor incidents, they were public, documented, and contributed directly to friction within the league. Yet, when White finally spoke, all attention was shifted to fans, painting them as the problem. The irony was staggering. Fans who had invested emotionally, financially, and culturally in the league were suddenly blamed for the toxicity they themselves had long fought against. It wasn't just unfair, it was strategically harmful. Moreover, internal organizational practices added fuel to the fire. The Indiana Fever, under White's leadership, reportedly mismanaged injury reports for Clark, keeping fans in the dark while capitalizing on her presence to sell tickets. Fans began piecing together a disturbing pattern: selective outrage, public scapegoating of supporters, and deliberate neglect of internal failings. This wasn't accidental. White's comments reflected deeper issues of governance, misaligned incentives, and a leadership unwilling to confront real problems. The WNBA was experiencing explosive growth, yet the structures in place were at odds with its own success. Alienating the very people responsible for that boom, the fan base was reckless. The league's internal chaos, combined with public mismanagement, painted a clear picture. The toxicity wasn't in the stands, it was on the court, in press rooms, and behind closed doors. And now, the fans weren't just angry, they were demanding real accountability. And the pressure was mounting faster than anyone in the league could have anticipated. Beyond public outrage, there's a far more tangible consequence to White's comments: the financial reality of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star athlete. She is the engine behind a surge in league revenue, ticket sales, and media attention. Without her, the league would not have experienced this unprecedented boom. And the new collective bargaining agreement offering players life-changing salary increases might never have materialized. Yet, despite her pivotal role, certain players and coaches act as if this influence doesn't exist. And White's disparaging remarks toward fans highlight the profound disconnect between leadership and reality. Fans, whose enthusiasm and loyalty directly fuel revenue, were suddenly painted as toxic, while the league's structural failures and selective player misconduct went unmentioned. The hypocrisy is striking. Consider the Indiana Fever's handling of Clark's injuries, conflicting reports, hidden details, and game-to-game ambiguity, while the organization capitalized on her presence to sell tickets. This is not just negligence. It's a financial exploitation of both the player and the fan base.
Don't make that about fans. The organization, there's been organizations such as the Indiana Fever who lied and hid injuries about Caitlin Clark the whole time, all while using her to sell tickets.
Meanwhile, Clark's supporters bear the brunt of public condemnation for expressing their passion, despite being the very people who made these financial successes possible. It's a stark reminder that accountability in professional sports is often misaligned. White's actions, intentionally or not, shift blame from players and management to those who genuinely invested in the league. The irony is painful. Fans created leverage for higher salaries and greater recognition for athletes. yet face vilification for doing exactly what any sports audience would celebrating excellence. The financial stakes are clear, but so too are the cultural stakes. Alienating fans risks not only revenue but credibility, trust, and long-term growth. If the league continues to ignore the source of its popularity while punishing the very supporters driving its success, it jeopardizes everything. The WNBA's opportunity to solidify a mainstream, passionate, and diverse audience could be undone in a matter of weeks. Every dollar Clark generates, every new fan drawn in, and every record-breaking broadcast becomes intertwined with leadership decisions. And when those in power attack the fans, rather than acknowledge the systemic issues and celebrate the league's catalyst, the fallout is inevitable. Stephanie White's statements aren't just controversial, they are a warning signal, a reflection of the fragility of success when recognition, accountability, and fan respect are treated as optional rather than essential. The response to Stephanie White's statements was immediate and ferocious. Social media exploded with outrage as fans took to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to express their disbelief. Hashtags calling for her removal trended nationwide, accompanied by thousands of posts highlighting the hypocrisy in her statements. Fans meticulously documented instances where players had disrespected them, creating a visual record of the double standards. They shared clips of A.J. Wilson fans being silenced, videos of Ryan Howard's dismissive comments, and even posts showing conflicting injury reports from the Indiana Fever. The sheer volume of content was staggering, leaving no doubt that this was not a fleeting controversy but a deeply felt, widespread backlash. Influencers, former athletes, and sports journalists weighed in, amplifying the outrage and framing it as a larger commentary on accountability and transparency in professional sports. White's statement calling fans toxic was dissected, analyzed, and widely condemned. The fan base became a unified front, highlighting the critical role Caitlin Clark played in the league's success. Every post, tweet, and story underscored the frustration of a community that felt used, ignored, and unfairly blamed. The social media firestorm didn't just challenge White, it forced the entire league to confront uncomfortable questions about leadership, communication, and the respect owed to those who sustain the sport. Sports media quickly jumped on the story, amplifying the controversy to national attention. Analysts debated White's intentions, questioning whether her comments were a calculated deflection or genuine Insider reports suggested that tensions had been simmering behind the scenes for months. Sources revealed that White had repeatedly downplayed Caitlin Clark's influence, elevating other players like Kelsey Mitchell in public statements. The media highlighted the disconnect between what leadership claimed and the reality. On the court, Clark's arrival had transformed attendance, ratings, and fan engagement. Interviews with former players and coaches emphasized that the toxicity White pointed to was often a symptom of her own selective outrage. Commentators highlighted patterns of organizational mishandling, hidden injuries, and double standards that had gone unchallenged. The media coverage didn't just report the controversy, it framed it as symptomatic of systemic issues within the WNBA, issues fans had long pointed out, now validated by widespread discussion. Beneath the public outcry, the internal league dynamics revealed a more complicated web of tension. Players who had historically challenged management, protested salaries, or voiced grievances about league policies suddenly found their actions scrutinized alongside fan behavior. Angel Ree, Paige Bueckers, and Satu Sabali became focal points in ongoing debates over player influence versus fan recognition. Instances of racial investigations, public spats, and disrespect toward fans were brought to light, exposing patterns of entitlement and selective accountability. Leadership's inconsistent messaging only fueled division, leaving fans to navigate conflicting narratives. White's statements acted as a catalyst, magnifying pre-existing tensions between management, players, and supporters, and threatening to destabilize the unity the league had been working to build. The controversy went beyond finances and leadership. It struck at the heart of the league's cultural identity. Fans of Caitlin Clark, often diverse and multi-generational, felt their loyalty dismissed. Accusations of toxicity against a supportive, passionate community highlighted a generational and cultural gap between league leadership and its audience. The incident prompted conversations about representation, accountability, and who gets to define legitimacy in sports fandom. Critics argued that the WNBA risked alienating its most engaged supporters at a critical moment of growth. Long-term, this could influence not just ticket sales or merchandise, but broader cultural perception and mainstream acceptance of the league. Clark's unprecedented popularity had created a new blueprint for fan engagement, yet it was met with resistance from traditional structures, unwilling to acknowledge the transformative power of a single athlete. The question became clear: could the league reconcile these cultural tensions while maintaining credibility and fan trust? The controversy culminates in an urgent demand for accountability. Fans, media, and insiders alike are calling for Stephanie White's removal, viewing it as necessary to protect the league's integrity and growth. Beyond punishment, the incident serves as a wake-up call for systemic reform. Leadership must recognize the fans who drive revenue, acknowledge the players whose actions contribute to toxicity, and foster a transparent, fair environment. Caitlin Clark's influence both on and off the court cannot be understated. She symbolizes not just athletic excellence, but the financial, cultural, and social lifeblood of the WNBA. Moving forward, the league faces a pivotal choice: continue down a path of selective blame and alienation, or embrace accountability, recognize contributions, and ensure that both players and fans feel respected. The decisions made now will shape not just the careers of individual athletes, but the future of women's professional basketball. For fans, the message is clear: your voice matters, your passion drives change, and the league cannot succeed without acknowledging the central role you play. The stakes have never been higher, and every action, statement, and policy from here on will define the legacy of this transformative era in the WNBA.